G'day guys, Ben here and welcome to another episode of the Pumped on Property Show. Now today I have something super special for you guys. I recently sat down with Commonwealth Games gold medalist Jason Cram, which has resulted in one of the most interesting / fun conversations I've ever had in my life. Now, when I originally sat down with Jace, I thought we were going to talk about the 5 investment properties that he's bought and his gold medal at the World's, PAX, as well as Commonwealth Games. But like every good conversation, we ended up down a whole number of rabbit holes and went past his swimming career and his property investment career, looking at the times that he met the likes of Mariah, Carey, Miranda, Kerr, working for billionaires on their yachts, sailing around the world. Now strap in because Jace is one of the most incredible storytellers you'll ever hear, and this is one of the most interesting stories you'll ever hear in your life. Awesome, mate. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Like I say off camera, man, like you are by far the most interesting person that I think I've met through this business in the last 9 years, because every time I catch up with you, there's just this another element to your world that I find out about. But tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you arrive at this point?
It's funny, you actually just made me think about the first time I had a conversation with you, and I was actually down in Thredbo.
Oh, wow.
I was on the phone in Thredbo and we're talking about, property investing and where we're going with that. And I don't know what I was down there for.
The blue Jeep.
It was in the blue Jeep.
Yeah,
I still got a blue Jeep. I got the bigger one now. Most impractical car for Sydney, but absolutely love it and kind of get out of my way. But yeah, look, I guess I call my journey a little bit like the Slumdog Millionaire lifestyle. So kind of putting all these things together, and the way I sort of define it is like chapters. Mm-hmm. The book is my life, and the chapters are these little pieces that I've been a part of, and each time it's sort of closed, but never closed enough because it kind of teeds into the next chapter.
Sure.
So it's sort of flowing. I've actually thought about writing a book and I've started the process.
I'd love to read that, man.
It's so unique. So yeah, as you mentioned,
no one's lived like you've lived, bro, in the weirdest ways. Like I say, like to people when I talk about you, it's like, I feel like this guy's lived 5 lifetimes in the last 20 years.
Easily, especially the last 20 years. So the first 20 years, I'm 41 now, the first 20 years of my life were pretty much dedicated to being in the water and swimming. Mm-hmm. Going through the club level, state, national, then international competition. Pretty much, I started in the water when I was about 3. Mm-hmm. Started sort of training around 5, started competing at 6, 7, 8 as a junior. And then we went into kind of state level, national level. So at the age of 15, I was the national champion, the age champion for 15 years.
Okay.
Somebody else who was in my age group was Ian Thorpe, but he was actually already onto the international scene at that point. Yeah. So that allowed me to, sneak in as an age champion. Tough
time. Like the greatest swimmers of all time were that generation. I couldn't name a swimmer from today, but I could name 5 from back then.
Absolutely, and because they were household names as well. Kieran Perkins, Susie O'Neill, Grant Hackett, Ian Thorpe.
Who was the guy that used to have the bald head? Klim?
Michael Klim.
Klim as well.
I caught up with him just recently as well. It's awesome to see him actually for his television campaign that he's doing at the moment, which is to get blood plasma. Okay. So he's gone through a degenerative disease that's kind of, slowed him down and made him not as mobile. But like all of us ex-swimmers, the water's still our happy place. Yeah. The water's still where we get in, and he's got like a swim school now in Bali. So,
wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we're all sort of connected in that world. So I guess we kind of, from the nationals, I went into, Australian Open Championships and then started doing international teams. And in 2002, I was the 3rd fastest 200 freestyler in Australia.
Yeah, wow.
So the person who touched the wall first was Ian Thorpe.
Yeah.
The person who was second was Grant Hackett, and I was 3rd. And that gave me my birth into my childhood dream, which was to be a part of the Australian swim team.
Yeah, wow.
So then, we kind of went on stepping stones from into Commonwealth Games, and then Commonwealth Games, Pan Pacs, and World Champs. Yeah. So 3 really major meets. Yeah. And I was a part of our 4x200 freestyle relay team. And it was an incredible experience. It certainly helped by the fact that there were gold medals.
Winning golds at all of those events is out of control.
Yeah. And then, we kind of lead into 20 years ago, almost to the day, for Olympic trials for the 2004 Athens Olympics.
So you were 21?
21, 22, just
Yep.
teetering on that. And I missed out on making the final by the click of a fingers.
Wow. And you were already at that level and probably still the third, maybe second fastest person in that group.
Yeah,
It
so
just wasn't your day.
It just wasn't a day, and it's not even that. It's almost like right now in 2024, we're at the caliber again where it was.
Wow.
Where we had the top 16 guys at the Australian finals, which are the Olympic trials in 2004, that went faster than the A final at the Olympics
You're
that
kidding
year.
me. So the talent pool was just like a class of one.
Absolutely. It was the depth within that country at that time, because we just rolled off Sydney 2000
Yep.
and Sydney
The
Olympics were
momentum
nuts.
was there.
The momentum was there, there was money in the sport and everything was just rolling. So yeah, for me, like leading onto that, it was almost like an expectation.
That you were going to make that.
That I was going to
team.
make the Olympic team. And then when I missed out on that, I was absolutely gutted.
Yeah, of course.
It was funny though, because it was the same year that Ian Thorpe actually fell in the pool before he started in his 400 freestyle.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
They actually did a story just recently about that.
They still didn't let him redo that. That was it for him, hey, in that event?
No, so there was pretty much Craig Stevens, one of our fellow training partners. So I trained with Thorpe under Doug Frost and then Tracy Menzies for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was Craig Stevens who was second in that event behind Grant once Thorpe was disqualified. And then he actually gave up his spot at the Olympics.
That's right. I remember that was incredible. Like, who does that, man? That would have been bloody hard to do.
It was hard because we were all, pretty close. We were mates within that time. And for Craig to do that...
Giving up his dream for 20 years as well.
But he had so much pressure from everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can only imagine. What was it like at 21, 22 when most people are just establishing a career to have already had one, and then to be going through that, I'm not just my talent now? Like, what the hell was that like to redefine yourself at such an early age after most people aren't even starting? Like, most of your mates that weren't pro athletes probably just hitting the piss and mucking around still at
Pretty
21.
much.
Yeah.
It's funny, within most sport, especially elite sport, you find by the age of 16, 17, 18, probably about a third of those guys that you used to race with were out of the sport altogether.
Yeah.
It's too demanding. Like, I was training anywhere up to 20 to 30 hours a week. So for most people, that's an average, full-time job.
Yeah.
So, the dedication that you have to that. But then add on top of that, the fueling, you have to eat right, the massage, the recovery that you have to do. And there wasn't so much mindset stuff around that time.
Yeah.
I kind of call it, we were still kind of post-war mentality.
Yep, just go hard and...
Just go hard and, especially for guys, leave your emotions like deep within. Now these days, 20 years on, I think we've gone too far the other way. That's my own personal opinion. But I think that everybody's got an emotion and a feeling about something and we're all looking for an answer.
That's like, actually, let's just find an in-between here and go hard, but recognize when we're burning out before we burn out as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and look, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. I think
we
our
always
generation
overdo it, don't we?
Yeah, we always overdo it. We always go, I just push a little bit harder. But the reality is we have to kind of find that middle ground. And that's the balance that we're looking for, right?
100%. So you've had this incredible point to that point, and obviously heartbreak / also possibly a little bit of relief. I'm not sure. I've never been at that level, but also just like, I can kind of let a little bit of that go, or not, or it was more holding on.
It was hold on. So, you're thinking it's another 4 years away for another Olympics. I'm still young. So, talking about that, how do you identify yourself as an, early 20-year-old that's already achieved so much? You're so much more mature.
Yeah.
You've grown so much as a person. So you realize that.
And go again.
Yeah. Like, do I have enough in the tank? Do I want to go again? Do I want to deal with this? And I've always had some mental health issues kind of growing up, and I'm not ashamed to hide away from it now.
Yeah.
Back then I would have been, there's nothing wrong, but now I kind of help, with mindset coaching for a lot of people.
I love that.
To kind of get them through ruts of things that I've experienced through my life.
That's beautiful.
But I also find that at that time, I didn't know how to handle it. And I lived at Wollongong and was traveling up to Sutherland. So for those that are not in Sydney or know the area, it's about a 45-minute to an hour drive.
It's a big drive when you're that age.
I was getting up at 10 to 4.
Wow.
To get to training for 5, to get into the gym for 5:30, to then to get into the gym from 5 to 5:30, then in the pool from 5:30 to 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Drive back home, come back up again.
2 sessions a day, 4, 5, 6 days a week?
6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a full-time dedication, right?
It was full-time commitment, driving up and down. And, you know, when I retired from the sport, so to speak, I think I was still a bit young. I should have probably hung out for another 4 years.
Yeah.
But the drive up was getting harder.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we still had athletes. So we still had Thorpe, Kirsten Thompson, and Craig Stevens, who were going to the Olympics. So they were still training for the Olympics. Simon Cowell, myself, and a couple of other younger guys kind of all missed out. So we were kind of, you know, still going to training, getting ready, because there's other meets, there's World Cups, there was all sorts of other meets on, not just the Olympics, but it just got harder getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I was starting to push, you know, as you do, you're starting to push the limits of, or push the boundaries, so to speak, of, you know, getting to training on time.
Yep. Just letting it slip a tiny. Yeah.
You know, staying an extra 10 minutes, but then still getting there on time. Go figure, how does that work? Yeah. So read between the lines, but you know, it was one of those things that I just one morning, and I don't even remember what I said. And I saw Tracy just recently, end of last year, my old coach, and I don't even remember what I said at that point. But I just remember something about, I'm not coming in tomorrow, I'm not coming this afternoon, I'll see you later.
Wow.
And then from that point, I'm sure there was a lot of things that go on, but what I remember from it was I just kind of closed a big steel door, and that was it from swimming. Done. Chapter closed.
Gives me goosebumps a bit, maybe because it's a little bit cold here as well, but also just because it's such a big thing to do, man. And and that was like one door. So like so much has happened in the 20 years or 18 years post that point. Like, without going into all of the nitty gritty, you know, I met you at a point where you're still doing some crazy stuff. So fill us in on like a little bit more of the flavor of that journey from then till now.
Yeah, cool. I kind of call it chapters. So the next chapter after swimming, towards the end of my swimming career, I was fortunate enough to get a job with an event management company.
Yeah.
They were based in Sutherland, and we did some like major sporting events and corporate stuff, but mainly sports. So the biggest one we do every year was the Australian Surf Life Saving Championships, either up at Karawa or all over the place. We started traveling.
Big event.
But we would do the look and the feel. So the signage, logistics, putting it all together. And I loved that because, you know, it was a great family to work for. I was very loyal to, you know, the owner of that company. Still am today, Wayno, if you're listening. And, you know, I learned so much about myself and about, you know, using that competitive side to be able to push myself to what I can do. And like, you know, I'd be lugging heavy stuff down because I was still a big solid unit back then. Lugging rolls of carpet, whatever else, you know, big signage banners, in conditions that are horrendous. Sometimes we get flooded out. And, you know, signage is getting blown away. Or I used to love the southerly buster that would come up.
Yeah, remember the break-ins? Oh, you still get it, right?
You still get it sometimes down here, but it'd always happen up there every year, up at Karawa. And you'd see it like down at Currumbin, kind of making its way up. And we're just like, we would just flee. Like all the event stuff would just flee, just grabbing anything that would come. And I remember we had like this big giant like flyer, banner, which was the presentation dice. And like this thing was like 6 meters by 4 meters.
Wow.
And I remember like racing up there and getting my Leatherman out and just cutting holes in it so the wind would actually go in it so it wouldn't take off like a giant sail. So I love that because the practical side of things and working really quickly, allowing yourself to kind of, you know, work on the fly and think, but then also the management side of putting logistics together, you know, and understanding. I think the biggest thing I learned from that is that things don't always go to plan.
Absolutely.
You can plan everything to a T, but things don't always go. So that was that chapter. I kind of, you know, all of them I sort of like, you know, I'm not feeling it anymore.
Your intuition was strong on what was right for you.
I started listening to myself a little bit more. So then I went off, and my best mate at the time growing up, we're still good friends to the day now, still my closest mate. He's got 2 little ones as well, so we're kind of all the same. Both of us have the same sort of desire to end up further north, migrate with the whales, and then just stay there.
You probably swim a little bit faster than them, but yeah. Can I just say something, man? To interrupt you, I'm sorry, but like I was saying this to Cam this morning when I was telling you about you coming in. Like I don't get to hang with you that much, but like I just love your company, and I feel like we've always gotten on so well. And I remember one time, when we went down the Goldie and had a few beers that night? Yeah. And then you ended up coming and staying. We actually had a great night. Like it was really fun, and Katie and Tim and stuff were there, and everyone else. It was just a vibe. But the next morning we're playing some tennis, and then I think me, you and Simon went for a swim. Yeah. And I remember doing what I do, which is going, Jace, like, let's have a race. And you're like, yeah, sure, bro. And I remember like very clearly, like I was here and I was swimming about 20 meters in a straight line, and you're about 10 meters diagonal of me cutting the same route. So you would have been going at least probably 5 meters further. And I'm going as hard as I can, and I look to my side and you're just cruising. And then I was just like, oh, there's so many layers to this, man.
I still remember that so vividly. Because that night I ended up sleeping on a couch, I think, because I was around a blow-in as well. I just said, I'm up here. What are you guys doing? Because I always try and connect with you. We're both living such busy lives now. Yeah. It's hard to kind of find that time to connect. Yeah. So I got to thank you for like reaching out to actually do this.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's one of those funny things that even though I swam at such a high level, you forget how good of a swimmer you are. And I know we haven't got to the business yet, but that's how I get a lot of business. Yeah. If I go for a swim myself, people will go, oh, you're a really good swimmer.
I just watched the technique and I was like, wow. It looked like, and I know you didn't turn anything on and you were wearing boardies, and I'd probably hopped in undies by that point. I was shaving down in the water. But
cap on, goggles on, and losing undies in set speed.
Exactly.
Whatever. That's Gold Coast.
Yeah, I was telling Sam about it. I was just laughing. I'm like, man, it's pretty to watch though. When people move the way that they're designed to, like the body's designed to move, there's just a difference. So yeah, I love that you're doing that now, just getting in the pool every now and then, and just, it speaks for itself.
It's one of those things, it's my happy place. Yeah. Even though my life has been, I see it as very fortunate, a very fortunate life. I had some amazing, incredible experiences, and like we're sort of getting through them now. Yeah. But at the same time, it's had its hardships.
Of course.
But that's life. Mm-hmm. Life is a roller coaster. It doesn't go linear like we think it does. And I think that's where that event management job really allowed me to understand that you can plan things to a T, but sometimes you just got to, shit happens and go with the flow. Yeah.
So what happened? That was chapter 2. Like what happened after that?
So chapter 3 was into my best mate who'd been working on cruise ships for a number of years. Yeah. And he'd always been dragging me across, trying to get me to come across and work. And I was like, look, I'm swimming, this is my career, I got to do this. And he totally understood that. We grew up surfing together. So I'd train, until like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. Then we used to go out surfing till 8:45. Like we did the last
too dark in summer.
Yeah, it literally like, the last wave in was in the dark. So you're kind of feeling it a bit like Point Break, the original Keanu movie. Like, just paddle, all right, cool.
It's all intuition at this point.
Yeah, it's purely feeling it. So we grew up together, that was our bond. And I finally decided, you know what, like, let's do it. Let's go work on this cruise ship. So I applied for Disney Cruise Lines, who he was working for at the time. Yeah. He was high up as a shore excursion manager, like a tour manager. And I started in their as a lifeguard on their private island in the Bahamas.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard this part of this journey yet.
Haven't you?
No.
Oh, gosh. All right. So the island is in the middle of kind of nowhere. It's this island that Disney put in a 99-year lease on it. Wow. And they made everything Disney.
Sounds amazing.
So yeah, everything's themed. Everything was there. The actual prop from the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Flying Dutchman. Yeah. It was there.
Yeah, cool.
So probably should or shouldn't say this or whatever. It's the Flying Dutchman. So as crew on there.
Part of it's now in your home.
Well, actually, maybe there is. Maybe there is somewhere. But what happened was, when all the guests would leave, we'd have the island to ourselves.
Stop it.
So we'd have one day off. There was only about 30 crew on the island. About 15, half of them were international crew. A lot of Kiwis, a lot of Aussies, some from all over the place. The rest were local Bohemian crew that had come across on the boat.
Rotating crew as well?
Pretty much rotating crew, usually on about a 4 months on, 1 month off. That was sort of the rotation.
Wow.
And just incredible experiences. Like, in the morning we go out and one of the jobs was to swim the net. So they have a net on the lagoon, the swimming lagoon, to make sure that, the nice reef sharks don't come in.
Yeah.
Well, there's no big ones over there.
Safety.
So it's only, it's safety. And everybody, that North American mentality, everybody freaking out. So that was one of the jobs. The other job was actually shoveling seaweed.
Okay.
To make it all look pristine. Mm-hmm. So as most resorts throughout the world do, they rake up from 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's hard work too, because you rake it, bury it, and then by the time the tide's changed again and you're doing it again.
I remember the mornings where it was like, nearly 6 foot high. And we're trying to shovel this stuff in. We get like this big heavy machinery down to kind of get it out. And 10 minutes later, it's back again.
It's like,
right. So the way you frame that is, this is a good workout.
Yeah, that's a workout.
Yeah. Like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, we're the Seven Dwarfs, like shoveling the sand and getting our workout in. So that was kind of a great experience for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I jumped on board the cruise ship because I wanted to travel. So, and Disney Cruise Line, I know you got kids and family, like if they're back here in Sydney again next year, go and experience it, because it is next level.
So how was it playing Prince Charming for 7 years?
It was pretty good. No, I ended up, it's funny, I did get asked to be friends with one of the characters once, but that didn't come through. But yeah, one of the things about Disney is that they do things just next level. The guest expectation, because you pay a lot. For like a 3-night cruise on Disney, you'd pay what you'd pay for 7 nights on any other cruise ship.
Okay, because it's the best brand in the world.
It's one of the best brands in the world. It's up there with your Cunard style cruise lines.
And there's nothing like it for kids.
Yeah.
You'd know more than me, man. I'd just be speaking out of school.
Yeah, that's all right. Just pretend you know what you're talking
yes.
about. I'm a connoisseur of cruise ships. That's what happens when we get older, right? We look at different ways. But yeah, so Disney just does everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Like they would have rotational dining, so the same servers were with you the whole time of your cruise.
Relationship stuff.
Correct. You're building the relationship, rapport. They'll get down. Do you want your Coke? Here it is. There you go. No ice, some ice, a little bit of lemon.
Yeah.
They would do, incredible displays or incredible experiences, Broadway style shows in the theatre, which are just nuts. But overall, what I loved was having to kind of manage those expectations. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you a story in a second, but for me, that was my kind of teenage years.
Yeah. So you got to actually let the hair down a bit.
Let the hair down.
You hadn't had that opportunity because you're a pro athlete.
Yeah. Interacting with so many people from all parts of the world.
Yeah.
And just, letting your hair down, letting a bit loose. The cool thing about working on a cruise ship is if you're late to work, it's literally 60 seconds and you're there.
Yeah, 100%.
Put some clothes on. You have to be cleanly shaven. Half the time they know that you had a sleep in because you weren't shaven. But you'd be able to go back down and, you get around it. You kind of work the system a little bit for you.
Sure.
But I love that. I love meeting so many people, interacting with so many people.
Yeah.
And there was, the crew were amazing, but I remember there was this one day, and that really highlighted how important things are in life, what you should focus on and what you shouldn't. And we started cruising around the Mexican Riviera. So I went through Panama Canal, which is incredible, across to the other side. And I was kind of the assistant tour manager at this time. And one day we rocked up to a dolphin experience, and selling that tour was the biggest sell. It would always sell out. People wanted to swim with the dolphins.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Who doesn't want to do that?
On a Disney cruise ship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the one day that we rocked up to the port, beautiful weather, beautiful day, but the dolphin adventure was closed because a mother had given birth.
Okay.
So they'd given the whole main pool to the mother and a calf so they could bond and a bit of space.
Yeah.
That morning was one of the worst mornings of my entire life on the cruise ship.
Just because these people are just...
Everybody kept coming down and cancelling. Mm-hmm. And you were just copying abuse, customer service, high-end expectations, and just copying abuse.
I promised my 6-year-old that this was the experience on the cruise and you can't deliver it, and Karens everywhere.
Pretty much. Karens everywhere. North American Karens, which seem to be the next level again. And look, I get it. They've paid a lot of money. Some of these families have saved up every penny for years and years and years to come on this experience.
Yeah.
But I remember this one grandfather with his granddaughter. She would have been maybe, 5 or 6, as you mentioned. And he was absolutely berating me. Like, you've ruined our cruise, how dare you, yada, yada, yada,
In
yada.
front of her?
In front of her, going off. Everybody was kind of looking, and here I am just going, look, I apologize, unfortunately, this is the scenario, this is what happened. You just be honest and upfront, exactly what's sort of happening. And he just wasn't taking it. So anyway, next minute I hear this little voice from under the counter go, I like Stitch. And I'm like, what? So I looked over the counter, here's this little girl, little blonde-haired girl, pigtails. And she goes, I like Stitch. And this guy's still yelling at me, so I kind of turned my focus a little bit away from him and just focused on her. And what it did, as crew on the cruise ship, and you'll see it in the parks as well, we all have lanyards on.
Okay.
And on our lanyards, we have like little pins.
Okay.
And she found like the Lilo and Stitch pin.
That's cute.
So I said to her, I gave her the pin. I said, here you go. This is for you. You can have that. I don't want anything back. And I just started interacting with what do you like about Stitch and that sort of thing. And I could see the moment I focused on the little child, the grandfather started to calm down.
Yeah.
Like he was bright red.
He saw you as an actual good dude.
And as I deflected, and it was a bit of a distraction, but at the same time, kind of everything changed. And then he ended up apologizing to me.
That's awesome.
And I said, look, I apologize that this has happened, but this is not the end of your cruise.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing, magical moments that you'll have on this cruise ship. So go off and explore.
Very cool.
And that's when I learned to kind of start reframing things.
Yeah.
Looking at things for what they are versus what you think they are.
Love that. The expectation versus the reality, and the reality is often a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
One question I had written down, and I want to get to chapter 4.
Yeah.
But how has that hectic mentality of training and going so far beyond every single day your own breaking point shaped your life as an investor and as a person and now as a dad? Like, has that been helpful, even though like I've suffered from anxiety, as you know, for a long time, and I still have bouts of it, but it's a lot, as I'm getting older, it's less severe because I've got more tools to deal with myself a bit better and less expectations on myself too.
It's true, right?
It's like when I get off my own ass, I don't have as many problems.
Yeah.
But how has that like winning mentality in one thing transferred to winning in so many other parts of your life, which we'll connect more dots in a moment on that?
So I think, connecting the dots, as an investor, I learned pretty easy that you don't make money from your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You make money, but you don't make money to set you up for the future. Because, most people, and the world has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
But most people would start with that mentality of like, I go to my 9 to 5, I do my little bit of savings, I do my holiday every year, I got my super.
Yeah.
But then in the end, when they retire at 65, they realize, well, hang on, no, I have to go to 67, or no, I have to keep working until I kind of fall off the earth.
Part-time and doing things I don't want to do.
And I think, look, everybody talks about the passive income. The passive income exists to an extent, but money is just a flow. It's like a wave.
Yes.
It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. Sometimes the waves are bigger.
Yeah.
So it comes in more.
You've had a pretty good wave in the last 5 years at least.
I've had a pretty good wave. It's like, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, I think there's a few rules that I've learned as an investor myself. You have to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
You have to be, not so protective. And I think that was my biggest thing. And my parents love them to death. They sacrificed everything for us, but they were always really conscious about, and I don't know where it come from, but always really conscious about having money and keeping money and storing money.
Safety.
That safety barrier, which I think is very much, I kind of call it the post-war, but that post-war mentality where I've got to keep the money under the bed.
Yep.
These days, with so many options out there in the, the world, I didn't understand it all. So I've got some shares, I've got some crypto,
Yeah.
you know, my crypto goes like this and then like this and then eventually it goes back up like this. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that, but you know, I'm on the bandwagon. I just leave it in there and just allow it to do whatever it does.
I wish I had been earlier on the bandwagon.
Yeah, but the bandwagon still goes down. So it's actually down at the moment. You can get in and, you know, put a couple of grand in there and just let it do its thing.
Yeah, I'm such a pussy, Jace. You know that.
I know. And I guess you're like me that, you know, we're sitting in this beautiful property right now that you can see value in bricks and mortar. Mm-hmm. And I think as an investor, what, you know, having those kind of differences where we talk about that cruise ship and deflecting onto that young child is you focus on what you can focus on and focus on what you know. Mm-hmm. At that point, I knew that young little girl, that's what I wanted to focus on. For me, property was something that I knew. Mm-hmm. People have to live somewhere.
Yep.
People are happy to pay to live somewhere.
Yep.
And the more people you have, the more demand comes. So therefore, you know, the tree grows bigger.
And one thing I've always loved, like I remember when we bought one of the properties in North Brisbane, around the university up there, and it was good bones.
Yeah.
But then what I saw you come and do, like the blitz, like the one-man backyard blitz in like how long did it take?
It was just over 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, like it was a new property by the end of it. I was looking at photos of it, but you have the ability, and most people listening to this have it as well, to see the potential. Like one of the people that came in yesterday when we were doing a different podcast was like, I saw the property, it looked like a dilapidated crackdown on, like that's what this property's showing up. I'm like, you should see the Airbnb listing now. She walked in, she's like, this is phenomenal. Yeah. Like you walked in here, you're the same as me. It's like someone's put an awful lot of effort in, and it's like, I just want to go see it because I froth on this stuff. And it's like, you're an idea collector the same as me. And
you know, the funny thing with that as well, it's so simple. It is really simple when you break it down, because I know in the market that most of my, or pretty much all my properties now are in, is that Queensland market. People in Queensland, and this is nothing against them, I think it's the same here as well, people want things to look nice straight away.
Big time.
So in that renovation that I did, and my parents again, they were grey nomading at the time.
Yeah.
They brought the caravan, monstrosity of a caravan, in and parked it in the front. And for 2.5 weeks, we did a block style renovation on that.
Oh, that's cool that you got to do that with your mum and dad.
And it was the greatest thing ever. And you know what made it so special for me? It was, you know, I don't want to embarrass my father, but it was the first time in like mid-30s, that he actually said, I love you.
Wow. Because he was proud of you.
We connected.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was a builder growing up. Then he went and worked in coal mines. And he spent 30 years of his life underground.
Down the gong.
Yeah, down the gong. Literally, you know, he would pick us up, he would drop us to school, pick us up from school, sleep during the day, he'd do the night shift.
Wow.
So for nearly 30 years of his life, he never saw daylight.
Wow.
Because he was always underground or sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleeping during the day, getting up. So yeah. So much respect for my parents, and I guess that's where that hard ethos comes in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when we did that renovation, both of my parents walked in and they just went, what is this shit that you bought?
What have you done? Yeah.
Because it was the worst house, and the guy that had it previously had literally done a do-it-yourself, like the bathroom downstairs, it was on cinder blocks. You would step up into the shower on cinder blocks. It was like
I would
nuts.
prefer people do not touch it. Like, don't touch it and let me have my wife's flare.
Yeah.
She's got the eye for it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, don't let me near fixing it up. But you are actually handy and you can do things.
I love the demo side of things. Who doesn't love the demo side of things? Do I need this wall? No. I do need that wall. It's holding up the roof.
When I was 18, remember Heathcote, obviously, you would have driven past that 1,000 times. South side of Sydney, my mate, whose dad was a barrister, but they had 6 kids and were like everyone during that 80s, 90s time, just trying to keep their heads above water. Mm-hmm. And he had a monster party with like 200 of our, like, remember when you know everyone from every school and every grade? And he's like, at the end of the night, there was about 50 of us left. And he's like, all right, so this was like a party, but we're also like, we want to demo the joint because we're rebuilding.
No way.
And to me, who always had too much energy that I like wanted to express, and I try and always walk the right line, but like as a young little firecracker, I'm like, so you're saying I can get like a baseball bat and bricks and we can just like muck around for the next 2 hours? And we'd all had about 12, 15 beers by this point. and we just went to town and pretty much teared the house down. I'm like, I hope my lungs are okay one day, because I like didn't think back about what all those houses are made of. But we just went absolutely ham. It was like the most fun I reckon I had to that point.
It's the most rewarding thing, and a lot of it, you know, in a way that kind of helped my swimming career, like deal with what happened with my swimming career.
Yeah.
Because allowing that release, and that's why, you know, I know they've got them up north, they've got them all over the country. Those demolition places where you go and have a couple of drinks and smash stuff up.
Yeah.
That's why they kind of
Next
taken off.
time we hang,
yeah,
we're
let's
not
do that.
filling a potty. I didn't even know that existed.
You didn't know?
No.
I know they're up there. I know there's one here close by as well. Yeah, you just go into a room, put on all the safety gear, and just go destroy things.
Okay, I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't on camera, but I'm going to. So I went to Europe when I was 22.
Yep.
For the second time. I went over there with my family, but like 5 of my mates were living there at the time. And I went to the Museum of Modern Art in London, and they had an entire floor that looked like a demo site to me.
Yeah.
And I walked in as a 22-year-old thinking, like, I've seen this before at my mate's house. There were like bats and stuff everywhere, and I'm like, okay, so this is not part of the thing. This is like
choose your own
walk
adventure.
in and have fun. Like, I'm like, okay, we're all obviously part of the exhibit, and I'm with my friends like just having an absolute time of our lives. And then this lady comes running in after like 5 minutes. She's like, what the F are you guys doing? And I'm like, isn't this an active display? Because there's another one upstairs where we're like rowing around on the Museum of Modern Art in a little rowboat on the roof looking over the river. And I'm like, this is just all funky.
Yeah.
I hadn't tasted anything like that before. And she's like, this is someone's exhibit. This took them 15 weeks to make. And I'm like, oh, I've just saved him some time on the cleanup. And she's like, get out. We got booted out of the museum. I was just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what I was doing. But I thought, like, you know, I've been to Mona and stuff in Tassie, and like so much of the stuff is interactive that I was like, I don't know what I was thinking.
You know what? That's life experience that we, you know, like that's a story.
Yeah, I was an
That
idiot.
lady will go, oh, remember I was a security guard and these bloody idiots.
Those naughty little Aussies.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's some more lessons that we'll come back to, but
Sure.
what happened in chapter 4? Like, so you've been on Disney cruises, you've got like training from one of the most incredible brands in history.
Yeah. And that kind of skill set then allowed me to, you know, understand customer service a little bit more.
Yeah.
Managing expectations of people a little bit more. So
At this point, you're still not an investor. Like, you've just gone from that to like
actually,
letting it
no,
slide
I am
a
an
bit.
investor.
You'd bought the gong.
I bought the Gong property.
Okay.
So I bought a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment close to the university, in a really good location. And that was where I was kind of living with my partner at the time.
Okay.
We kind of, actually, no, I lie. That was actually in this chapter.
Okay, cool.
This chapter here. So, because then I traveled again. So this chapter here is where I started my investment.
Okay.
So I'd finished up on the cruise ship, and then I wanted to go. And one of the things I've done within my life is kind of my goal setting. It's how I describe it these days now to the people I work with. And it's like plant a seed and water it.
Yes.
So the goal, the dream, the desire, whatever it is the seed. And then you water it by thinking about it, by making sort of actions towards it and allowing, you know, those doors to open up.
Yeah.
Some people will, you know, just focus on something, set a goal, and then just try and achieve it with whatever means possible. Mine is a little bit more transient. It's kind of flowing, so to speak. So allows, you know, things to come into place at the right time rather than you forcing it at the wrong time.
Do you think like the background that you had at being such a high level in swimming and knowing that you can't just rock up to the meet as your best self, there's a 12-month lead up to it?
Exactly.
With tapering has helped that visioning, planning?
And seeing how that sort of transpired. The more I think about it, the more you put the process to it. The process is there. The goal is done every single day.
Yeah.
The seed is watered every single day, maybe a couple of times a day.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a seed right now that I've been planting for so many years already, since I was a 15, 14-year-old kid. You know the RSL lotteries?
Yep.
I'm going to win one of those.
I love that.
So even if it's the last day I'm on this earth, I'm going to win one of those lotteries. And I know
love that.
Now, I'm trying to water it a little bit more so it comes a little bit sooner. But you know how like they give away like apartment complexes now? It used to be the house. The last one they just had was a $7.3 million apartment complex with 4 apartments and a penthouse.
Dude, for $50 worth of tickets.
For $50 worth of tickets.
Incredible.
But you know what? The way I see it is also too, I'm supporting veterans.
100%.
Because those guys are doing stuff that you and I can't even manage or think about.
Yeah, there's a heap of them on the coast. Like they come in as like, I don't know if they're the RSL ones, the one up there, it's more the surf club guys that got on the same thing. But every time I walk past one, I'm like, I've done that job and it's really hard. So like, here's $50 like to make your next hour a little bit easier.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're going to win one.
I'm going to win one.
Cool.
I tell everybody now, that's the cedar that I'm watering now.
And would you keep it or would you cash it? Oh
gosh, this is the hard thing. I always look at it and study it and go, what would I do? I think I'd probably keep it, but as we find out later on in the end of this podcast, I feel like this is going to go forever, this one. But at the end of it, I kind of tell you how like my life sort of changed and, you know, what I would do now and how it's completely different.
I love that.
So we'll come back to that question.
Yeah. So you've bought the gong unit.
So bought the gong unit, but I wanted to travel the countryside. And I came back and started working for the event management company. And when you talk about like, you know, planting the seed, that was the seed. I wanted to travel Australia. I started traveling the world. Swimming opened me up to the world. The cruise ship opened me up to the world a little bit more. But I wanted to come back and see my own backyard. Mm-hmm. I ended up landing a job with the precision driving team. So these were originally in the day, it was the Holden Utes driving around. You might have seen them at the Ekka.
I've done it.
You've done it?
I've done in the V8 Supercar, not the Utes, but that would be even more fun because they're looser.
They're way looser. And these drivers are exceptional, like all rally bred drivers.
Yeah.
And we go up on two wheels, we do the stunts, and sometimes like in just a paddock.
Were you driving or were you organising them?
I was organising and commentating.
Oh, wow.
So I was the voice.
Yep.
I was the voice of the guys for, you know, about 3 years.
Caramel.
I loved it. Like, you know, it was like the big boys kind of toys. And, you know, every weekend we'd be in a different country, in a different like rural country town.
Yeah.
You know, going to the local shows where like, you know, the cow was on display. And
we were literally at the Nambour show, it's called, on the sunny coast last weekend.
Yeah.
The V8s, like there was a Holden and a Ford going the opposite direction and just... I'm like, I just want to be in there to like slide around this corner with these boys, hey?
It was incredible. Yeah. It was such, just, you know, an amazing experience to see what those guys could do. Mm-hmm. And so it was the exact same thing, but 4 utes.
Okay.
It's probably the same company. I think they followed it and left that up. But then within that period of time, so the traveling around, the commentating was cool. By the end, you get a spiel together. And all of a sudden they might, you know, come together. Then you have to think quick on your toes. So you're kind of used to it. But you'd come to like the major shows. So like the Royal Easter Show or Ekka. And then it's obviously a massive production.
Yeah.
So I'd have the drivers communicating in one ear. Okay. I'd have the show announcer and my voice and what was being said in the music in the other ear. And then I was trying to spit stuff out.
Do you know what I'm so grateful for? Like when you came in here this morning, I'm like, have you put on a mic before? And you're like, yeah, I've put on a few.
I think I already had it on before you.
Yes,
like, oh yeah, it was already done.
I've seen this, yeah. Oh wow, man. That would have been good fun.
So that was an incredible experience, right? But then the boss bought, and this is my childhood dream, to deal with monster trucks.
Yeah.
So one of the bosses actually bought all of the monster trucks in Australia, the Monster Jam style trucks. So I started building a little bit of driving, not too much, but more commentating and organising the monster trucks as well. So I had the stunt cars on one side, the monster trucks on the other side, and then I'm the commentator of the show, and I was just like a little kid in heaven.
Yeah, wow.
And what I loved about that the most was the fact that the cars or the monster trucks could be just doing the most lame thing, but because you got the microphone and you got control, you can command up to 50,000 people to sing and scream and make a whole heap of noise, and then something amazing would happen.
Yeah, wow.
So I love kind of building that suspense to allow it to kind of escalate.
So that makes more sense now, like, because the first time I met you in person when you were up was in the Jeep, and I'm like, it looked like a mini monster truck. Yeah. Like, okay, I'm connecting it.
It's all connecting, right?
Yeah.
And at that time when we first connected, that's where I was working for them still.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Don't know what I was doing in Thread, but actually I might have been on the drive back from like one of the shows or something. So
then somehow, like, working with billionaires on their yachts come into the equation. So bought that investment property, but it wasn't an investment at the time. I lived in it for the first 2 and a bit years, then we flipped it. Okay. I just turned 30,
And when I worked on the cruise ship, I remember pulling into one of the ports, and I'm pretty sure it was Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. And there was this massive private yacht, and next to it was like a yacht that you'd see on Sydney Harbour, like a 40, 50 foot boat that was identical right next to it with the same like stripe under it. And I remember going, this is planting the seed. I want to work on one of those.
Yep.
And that was just a vision. Like, people have vision boards. That was just a vision and mentality.
Like, I might come back to that at some point.
I might come back to that.
Yeah.
And literally I decided, you know what? I love scuba diving because I'd been scuba diving. That was my transition from swimming.
Yeah.
So I went into scuba diving and became an instructor, teaching people how to dive. Didn't like the sausage factory of like the normal run-of-the-mill.
Yeah.
How can I make a little bit more money? How can I see the world? Scuba diver instructor on a private yacht commands more money. Allows you to, get into that kind of high net wealth family experience.
Yeah.
So sounds really strange and weird, but as you do. But I met a guy who was back in Australia to do a course, and this is in the car park of the dive shop out the back, and we just kind of connected. Like, this is like watering the seed. We just kind of connected, and I said, look, I've just become a dive instructor looking to work on private yachts. He was going over to Europe to look for a job on private yachts.
Yeah.
He ended up getting a job on Australian Billionaires icebreaker-esque private yacht. And
I did see a photo of that boat once, and I'm like, this is the most incredible thing that I've ever seen.
It's the most incredible. If James Bond had a boat, this is what he'd have, because there was like 7 other boats.
I think
which
James
were like,
Bond could afford this boat.
I don't think he could either. Well, MI6. But that's what they'd have. And then we had like, what do we have? Six jet skis? No, more. 8 jet skis.
And you had 2 pimp boats on the boat.
2 pimp boats. One of them was $1 million boat, a tender within itself. It was like a custom thing. Another one was a jet-driven 45-foot boat, which was my favorite thing to drive in the world.
Yeah.
Big horsepower. All of them had big horsepower. Like, they were fast. The slowest one would probably go 80 kilometers per hour in the water, which is, 45 knots, which is pretty quick.
So there's 2 things, because I think around about that time is when our journeys for the first time started to intersect. Like, I know you were on the boats by that point, or transitioning.
Yeah.
And things were changing. Like, firstly, you were seeing the world, and I know you worked with 2 or 3 of these different families, and you saw a lot of stuff, which I want to talk about, but also seeing that obviously had some impact on your mindset, because from that time till now, you've sort of just went off. Property-wise as well.
Absolutely. Like, I had a goal, and this is the goal-orientated person versus the plant the seed person. So I had a goal that I wanted to get after I started with my properties, and when we first connected, that I wanted to have 10 properties in 10 years.
I was just reading that this morning.
Yeah. From our notes.
From our very first convo in 16, 17.
Yeah. I want to have 10 properties in 10 years. I want to sell 5 properties after that and then live off the passive income.
Yep.
That was the original dream.
Yep.
And, that works for so many people.
That's also like the young man's dream that
Correct.
we both had. And it's like, hang on, do I really want that? Or can I get the same from 4 properties?
Yeah. Can I get the same from doing it a different way? Because the more properties you have, the more overheads you have, the more debt you have, the more anxiety you have.
Tenants leaving keys in the sink, and the other things we'll talk about in a bit down the line.
Yeah. So it's like, what kind of sort of life do I want? And that was, at the time, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
But that was something that was distinct. So, and that's when I went really ruthless, because I had, I was still sort of single ish, but still single, traveling around, experiencing things. And I had, like, as I call it, disposable income. I had money that made it look really good for the banks.
And you also had almost 0 living costs, because
Correct.
for some reason, you just I would call you and it's like, oh, I'm just living in Rose Bay right now, or wherever, I'm pulling that, that's probably the wrong suburb.
Yeah.
Probably a nice one.
Yeah.
But you just somehow got hooked up in all these houses, or were just permanently living on these yachts that these people were using a fraction of the year.
Yeah. So all that money was sitting there, so you wanted to do something with it.
Yeah.
And I think I worked with 2 billionaire families, both Australian, both incredible families.
Yeah.
There's always negative around that because of what they have. One of them was, family wealth. The other one was self-made billionaire.
Yeah.
And both of them were just amazing people because I was fortunate enough to be able to interact with both of them.
Yep.
Some people are just like in that world, are just like servants, but
you transition that, hey?
Yeah, I couldn't not be myself. Like, you know, there's all these rules. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. But that's not me. You know, I'm not one to break rules, but I'm one to push the boundaries. So if, you know, if the owner's coming on board and, you know, they look at me and I'll say, hi, how you going? In fact, my first interaction with the billionaire that I worked on, because when I met that guy in the car park for the dive shop, 3 months later, we had a job. He was coming back to do a course and he wanted me to step in as a dive instructor.
Okay.
So I went across to Bora Bora, Tahiti, then to Bora Bora.
Is that beautiful?
Just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't afford it to do it without, but also too, it would be hard to do it without that experience. Yeah. Because, you know, I'm so used to hop on a boat, go here, go there, jet ski around.
You've tasted
Bora Bora.
the billionaire lifestyle without having to finance. It's like, what's the best thing you want? Like a mate with a boat. What's even better? Like a billionaire that is your mate with a boat.
With a boat. It's like, you know, that's the echelon life. But that comes with a lot of sacrifices as well, right? So to have these amazing experiences in Tahiti, Bora Bora, you know, working on the boat. And when I first looked at it, I went, is that what I'm working on? But then when I worked on it, I'm like, this is incredible. This boat, you know, it's not a boat, this is a ship. This is a ship, it's a freaking ship.
Talk to me about those sacrifices. Do you mean for we all know what billionaires have to sacrifice, which is everything. But do you mean in terms of being away from friends, being away from family, being 100%, you're 24/7 on, if it is what I'm assuming, like in one way or another?
There's no necessary off. You have mandated hours that you have to work. You have to have a certain period of hours off once you're in that time. But the reality is, you know, the ship starts dragging anchor. You got to get up and do stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, the sacrifices are obviously being away from your family. Like, you know, working on the cruise ship early on my journey, my grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
And my parents, you know, did the right thing. They didn't want to tell me because they knew I couldn't get back.
Yeah.
But when I got back there, so you miss out on so many experiences, family experiences. But you're having so many experiences on the other side. Yeah. So it's almost like you're a kid again. You're distracted. Yeah. You're distracted by what's sort of going on.
And so, you know, just to fill people in, like between yourself and your partner, there's 4 more properties that I'm aware of post Wollongong.
Yeah.
And these all happened in a very short period of time.
Very short period. So from, I think, 2016 to where we are now, 2024.
And you haven't bought in a year. Like it was 2023 that you settled on the last one. So it was even...
Yeah, it's even narrower.
Yeah.
But so, you know, and the way that we've done with our properties is, you know, that working for the billionaires, we kind of touched on before, that opened my eyes to, you can do things differently. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do the one mindset that you have. You know, working for the first family was like, my eyes are blown away because you almost name the celebrity, you name the movie star, you name the actor, actress, singer, whatever. I've pretty much met the top echelon.
I remember having some beers with you, and we're not going to go into dropping everyone, but some of these experiences are just crazy. Like, I'm not going to mention a name, but I remember you like putting people to bed and those people being like, don't leave me in the bedroom. And I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like the biggest of the biggest of the biggest.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you know what probably the other thing that I learned is that they're just people.
Yeah.
Anybody can do what these people are doing. Mm-hmm. It certainly helps to have that influence of people around you.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was just the water sport guy and just a general deckhand. So I'd be on security watch, standing at the back whilst all the guests are having fun. And a lot of the time you're standing right next to the toilet. You know, it sounds really weird, but like the outdoor toilet, or outdoor head we call it on the boat. But you like meet these people in interaction, and sometimes they'd stop and they'd have a chat with you. And the first question they'd always ask is, how did you get into this? Mm. So I'd lead off that I was a competitive swimmer for Australia. I was a world champion and gold medalist. And then you'd see their eyes kind of flicker.
Yeah, because it's like, hey, I'm talking to equal here.
We're talking to equal.
Or even,
Yeah. So then that's how I got rapport. So that's how then they'd be like, oh, I want Jason to come in and we'll go to the beach together, or we'll go for a swim or a snorkel or whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's just me being my personality.
Yeah.
I wasn't big nerdy myself. People asked a question and that's my life and I put it back.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like, obviously there's things I don't say because things happen. But for the most part, like, they're just people.
Yeah.
And I met some amazing people.
Yeah.
Like, people would die to have them on their podcast. People would even just to have them on their news. And here I am just having a general chit chat to them about, movies that they worked on, behind the scenes sort of things that I wanted to ask.
Just for the fun of it, like, I won't mention any names, but what did you make me Google before? Just if anyone wants to have a little look at you online, just for a funny thing.
So for this person that I actually worked with, I worked with them for 6 months, and I traveled the world with them, and I worked with the kids and a part of the entourage. But if you Google jet ski guy in Australia, or did jet ski guy go too far, is probably a better way to Google without giving the name away. But you know what? I'm happy to give away because that was a part of my life, and that's where I actually started to learn a lot. So, if you Google that, if you have Googled that, come back to where we are now. But it was actually Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And I met her, during her time on board, and we got the paparazzi shots, which you see if you've Googled it. And for me, she was incredible. She was an amazing person, and I've got nothing negative. And so many people have negative things to talk about, and a lot of it, I think, comes from jealousy.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is a person that's hounded by the paparazzi, by the press, by the things all the time.
She's just a kind person on the other side of it.
Yeah, she's a person who knows exactly what she wants.
Yeah.
And the way
People
I describe
are threatened
her,
by that sometimes, but I love that.
She, there's no beating around the bush. She actually goes, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to make it happen. You can call it a diva, that's fine. But she's just a person that knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And I respected that, and I learned a lot from my interactions with her.
So how did this transition from, okay, now you're saving money, now you're earning more money, now your living costs are super, super low. And there was a period there where it's like, I felt like we were catching up a lot, and it was just every time we were, it was like, okay, I've saved a deposit, I'm ready to rock and roll again. And you also, I think, saw the opportunity of, Brisbane until that point had done nothing for the 10, 11 years leading up to it. Yeah. So you got a beachside property, you got a property closer to the city a little bit, and then you picked up something on the sunny coast recently as well. But everything you've touched has kind of turned to gold, but you've always had a structure, I suppose, for what you buy, which it's always big blocks, it's always quiet streets, it's always close to meaningful things. It's always got some potential for you to fix it up using your skill set and network.
And that's, I think, you got to look at as an investor. What skills do you have? Yeah. But what do you love doing? I love building stuff. Yeah. Give me IKEA kitchens, give me whatever, give me, something to put together, something to think about, something to understand how it all comes together. I'm in the background looking at the kitchen that's in here.
That's a beautiful kitchen,
it's a beautiful
actually.
Kitchen. Hey. But you look at it at the same time, it's quite simple. Yeah. It is very simple for what it is, but it looks the part. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. My partner, Jess, is an interior architect. Yeah. So I only met her in kind of my last chapter of where we are, which was working for the second billionaire. And after, I call it Mariah's world because that's what they wanted me to come on and do a TV show, which she did. Okay. I left that, and I left that world a little jaded because some stuff had happened, but it allowed me to realize my boundaries and what I wanted in life and what I didn't want. Okay. And living that wealthy, stupid wealthy lifestyle is not what I wanted, but that's what I knew. So then I ended up working for another billionaire company back here in Australia, a billionaire family back here in Australia.
And I'm assuming that community is pretty close because trust is everything, right?
Trust is everything. And look, in that world, I'm so loyal. And, brands that I've grown up with as a kid, I'm so loyal. Even like changing banks is hard for me because I'm like, I know you're ripping me off, but like I don't want to take my money out. Like, you know,
Jason.
But that's one thing that I've always been. I've always been very loyal.
Yeah, I respect that heaps.
And you know, the last family I worked for, I was working on their private yacht here, based in Sydney, and then it kind of led into, can you fix stuff at the house? Yeah, how hard can it be? It's just a house. Okay, yes, it's the premier house in Sydney.
I remember talking to you and you're like, it's gone from sort of doing that to like, I'm like semi-managing this like ridiculous reno, and I'm like, well, this is a whole lot of stuff that isn't like just what I thought I was signing up for here.
This is not my job description. My job description was like, you know, mate or second in charge on the private yacht, and then all of a sudden I'm managing a multi-million-dollar renovation.
Great way to cut your
house.
teeth on that without your own money down.
Well, it's one thing again. It's managing expectations. You know, the family want to get back in their house. We were told it was this period of time. We're now 4 weeks over. Like, and I'm the guy that's in the middle of all of this. And look, there's other people in the mix that, you know, are getting their heads on the chopping block, but I'm the person in the house on the ground trying to get all this stuff sort of, you know, you're trying to get answers to questions of what do you want? Do you want this? Do you want that? You're trying to manage the contractors, you know, and keep them motivated enough to do the job and not get frustrated by, you know, expectations of things being delivered.
You know, I've never talked to a billionaire, but a whole bunch of people that I've met have been in the sort of $400 million to $600 million range. And what I've noticed is they are super kind, super generous, but the second they want their time to be valued in a different way, or it's going down a path that they don't want to be on, like cold, like not in a mean way, just they value their time so much, there's just no wasting it.
Yeah. And that's very the business. You understand then the business side of things.
Yeah.
So you've got the billionaires when they're on holidays, which is what I had a lot of interaction with on the yachts.
Which is like relaxing.
Yeah, you know, still like, why is this not happening? But then all of a sudden at the same time going, oh, okay, cool. I can kind of see a little bit. You know, one of the experience we had the police on board the yacht, because we used to go up to Indonesia on dive trips. Okay. And one of the local police, who was like the chief police guy, come on board, and seriously, these guys had guns. And you're just looking, and your old mate's got a Glock, the other guy's in a canoe. These are in a canoe as well. He's got a machine
with
gun.
An AK. Yeah,
it literally was an AK-47. And you know, one of the owners was getting up going, no, don't let them on the boat, don't let them on the boat. And I'm like, kind of, maybe just sit down, let's see where this goes. And luckily,
I'm not sure what you're stocking, but it looks like they're
I know that I've got a knife, like a little dive knife, I can poke them in the eyeballs with. But yeah, then, you know, we had a local guide who actually talked that situation down and did an amazing job of that. But that's where you kind of see the different side, but for the most part, they're relaxed.
Yeah.
Seeing the business side of things, and that's what I got here, you know, with the last family I worked with, to see that inner sanctum of how that works. I learned a lot about how things go. Sometimes you have to push, sometimes you got to allow. The more you push sometimes, the more things don't happen, the more things fall apart.
Yeah, and then it just, you know what that energy feels like versus being okay to yield. Yeah.
And you've got to kind of yield sometimes to allow things to happen.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I learned about, you know, being businesses is companies. So company structures, how things work, that, you know, this is a company, that's a company, that's a company, this. Everything is split up into individual companies.
That are manageable, bite-sized pieces that connect to a whole.
Correct. It's all holistically under one thing, in theory. But the reality is, from a tax purpose, everything's kind of split and spread and changed, and money goes over here and balances over there. And it's, yeah, that was kind of interesting to understand. Like, one of the companies, which is a major company in Australia, is broken into 50 different companies.
Wow. That's
what I counted. I think there's probably more than that.
I'd love to see the entity chart that he's running.
I know, right?
It would be off the hook.
Yeah, it'd be off. And the family as well is all, you know, within companies within itself. All the younger, the sons and the daughters and that sort of thing, everything's sort of all split up. It's interesting.
So what was it about that particular stage of life for you where you had so much life experience where you went, it's now time to double down and really put the steps in place for securing my long-term future and medium-term financial freedom as you chip away at the debts?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to remember is that, with property, with stocks, you can get your dividends out, but you kind of got to be watching that market quite a bit. It's not really a set and forget sort of a process. Some people will say that stocks, crypto, definitely not set and forget, but I'm using that mentality, which is not always working for me. Because I'm one of those people too that like to buy and hold.
Yeah.
So for me to have properties and invest in property, it's bricks and mortar and somebody else is paying that off. Mm-hmm. They, in essence, I saw that as the property was the company and the business, so, were the employees, were the tenants. Mm-hmm. The employees were paying that property off for me to allow it to happen. Yeah. Sometimes you get good tenants, sometimes you get bad tenants. Yeah. You don't kind of choose, even though, you might get, like from a property manager, you might get a whole range of people you kind of think is this is
you can't character profile them or values profile them though, so you really don't know what you're getting. You just, have they got any red marks? Yeah. And do they have enough to pay? And that's all you know. Yeah. And they're coming into your $500K $1 million asset, and there's a lot of trust that you hope it works out. And you were mentioning off camera that you've had a couple of experiences where it hasn't as well.
Yeah, and look, I'm happy to share those because that's I think
real.
In the real world, and I see it so much. And like I know that we're doing a podcast, and I see it with the business that I have now. There's so much noise. Mm-hmm. Everybody's trying to get your views. One of my videos on Instagram has had over 100,000 views.
Wow.
And I think that's incredible. Like I know there's people getting millions and whatever else, but for me, with my little smaller business and what I'm doing, but
how can people follow that again? What's the name of it?
It's at Go Swimly.
Go Swimly, cool.
Go Swimly.
So for anyone that wants to go to the next level, like Jace runs, we'll talk about that in a second, but pretty exciting and pretty fresh too. Like what, 2-3 years in now?
Not even 3 years, so 2.5 years.
Yeah, wow.
And built it up to over 700 clients.
Wow.
So, but yeah, back to the investing, and I know you and I always go on tangents, like I love that.
Yeah, this is what I love.
So going back to the investment, so for me, at this point in time, I've got a Wollongong property. That's an apartment. I've got the house that's closer to Brisbane. I've got the house that's north of Brisbane on the water, and literally one block back from the water.
Such a good spot.
So these are my 3 properties. And when we first started talking, the idea was to buy the property and then put the granny flat on the back.
Yeah.
On the back, and I didn't do that at the time. And do I have regrets? Maybe a little. The only regret, because that would have opened up a lot more cash flow and would have made it a lot easier. Like now with the interest rates, I'm not gonna lie, I'll put my hand up. I'm struggling to make it all manage, especially having my own business.
7% interest rates hurt, and then your wife's just had a bub as well, so you're down to one income too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and our rental has gone up.
Yeah.
So that's why we're liquidating a property, and I never thought I would.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me. I was talking to Crystal about this.
Yeah.
Your sister, and she helped us with the last property, to get it across the line. And she just kind of summed it up and said, whatever's got you the most debt, get rid of that one, and then pay off the one with the least amount of debt, so then you've got positive cash flow again.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing right now. But we had the 3 properties, and then my partner had one down here in Sydney as well, in a premier location just back from Bondi Beach.
Wow.
But it was a 1-bedroom, and this is how you learn through things.
Yeah.
You can get so much knowledge in the lead up to stuff, and there's so much leading back toward. There's so much white noise. Mm-hmm. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do that. And in the end, you get overwhelmed. I don't know what to bloody do.
But then the education that you've had and given yourself is like, that land in an undervalued market, close to the beach with a house on it, that has options is exponentially more valuable than a 1-bedroom unit in the best beachside location.
Best beach, 10-minute walk to Bondi Beach, not even. And it was a good location. So I was like, do we hold this? But it was just costing more money, and it was a company title.
Yeah.
So she bought that purely on rather than investment, and that we lived there for a period of time. 1-bedroom apartment with no parking space in Sydney, absolute nightmare. Parking on the street, so every night was
your car fit into a normal space anyway?
Yeah, but I had no one parked next to me, so it was good. But yeah, then when she sold that one, she sold it for a little bit of profit, but then the capital gains, actually there was no capital gains on that because it was primary place. Then my Wollongong one, we've just recently sold that.
Yeah, because that was PPR for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just tapped into capital gains. I'm just in that period, so
you pay the top up on it.
I pay the top up, and you know what? They're always going to get you somehow. For having all of these properties, and that Bellevue Hill one was like a beautiful location. We lived there, but you know, in hindsight, I probably should have put the granny flats on. But what stopped me at the time was they had just brought in a rule that the granny flats had to be rented out or lived in by family members.
That's right. The council completely blocked it.
Yeah.
Because there was 2 councillors that I went and saw that didn't like granny flats in their suburbs. The state government has now come and just stamped that over the top.
Yeah.
As you know, but yeah. And
then at the time though, so a granny flat was around 100. You know, 150.
Yeah.
Now we're well over 200 to put the granny flat, you know, on the back. So when I revisited it just recently, because there was a little bit of, you know, play before we bought the Sunshine Coast property, I thought, oh, maybe I'll do that. Because, you know, one's a 600 square property, the other one's 1,000 square property. And that's why I brought, because the money's in the land. Doesn't matter how beautiful the thing is that you've got on there. That just adds value to it.
Yeah.
But the money's the land. And the money in the land alone for both of those properties has almost doubled in the time that I had it.
That's crazy.
Yes, it means that you're paying more taxes on it, but at the same time, you can see that the value in the property is going up.
Yeah. So your plan at the moment is you've offloaded the one near Bondi?
Yep, Bondi's gone, Wollongong's gone.
And potentially if this one sells, it would be a great price if you could get that. Is that what the agents have suggested it could sell somewhere near?
Yeah, some have even said even higher. So there was a bit of a...
That's crazy, bro, for what you paid for it.
For what I paid for it. And there is, you know, it's hard to find a local agent. And I'm a person that goes like you on face value.
Yeah.
And we went up there and did my parents again, we did a quick flip renovation on it. Yeah. I literally did this in a day and a bit.
Okay.
We went in and I was so sick because I have a little one in daycare.
I
got something that just destroyed me that day. So, you know, I was cleaning the property inside.
Yeah.
My parents were ripping at the garden because the last tenant had it was a jungle. It was out of control. Yeah. And even the property manager that saw us to give me the keys, and then at the end, when she saw it again, she's like, wow, you did all of this? We filled like a 4-meter cube skip bin full of rubbish.
Your dad must have been busted, man.
My parents are amazing. You know, dad's a workhorse, mum's a workhorse. They just keep go.
Are those photos online the originals from when you bought it, or is that the condition it's back in now after the blitz?
That's where it is right now. What's online now for the property is where it is. Obviously, a photographer, you know, making us look beautiful. We're a lot worse than what we look here, really.
No, you're not, man.
Speak for yourself.
Put the filter back on, Sam.
So, you know, that's what the property is. As you look a little bit closer, it's got some wear and tear on it, but it's an amazing property even when I was there, I was like, do I really want to sell this?
Yeah, because you can see the potential too, right?
I could see the potential. I could physically live in that property.
Yeah.
Because it's not beachfront. You know, my partner wants to be. We want to be more Sunshine Coast eventually down the track, which is why we bought there. But yeah, like, you know, because we're beach bums.
Yeah.
But I can seriously live in that property. It was like a quiet street. It's
across the road from the park. Now that you've got a kid.
Yeah.
You know, so I suppose like coming to the chapter, there was sort of the period of just incredible amounts of investing in a short window and also sort of having fun on these yachts. But then there was the last chapter that I've sort of, you know, missed a little bit of was the transition from I'm working for these guys and I'm kind of in an early stage relationship to the relationship's really serious. We're going to be together, kids, businesses, big jump, and then selling down 2 or 3 properties as well. So it's obviously like the values have hit a point where it's like I could keep going and be the wealthiest man in the cemetery, or I can bring forward the decisions that I really want now. So what was that change point?
That, and I'll be honest, that was hard for a person like me that's set into routine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the routine's completely changed because, you know, now you're thinking for a partner as well. You can't be selfish anymore. And in a way, you know, growing up, my life was quite selfish. To achieve at a high level, you have to have some bit of selfishness and go, I'm not coming out with you tonight. I'm not going to go drink. I'm not going to go to dinner. You know, that's
routines
the sacrifice.
Of life. The only thing behind every success is discipline, routine, consistency.
Yeah.
And that works. And when you've seen it work at such a high level as an investor and an athlete and on these ships, then yeah, transitioning must have been full on.
It was hard, especially when you've got like, you know, a goal or a dream that you have in mind. And, you know, to tie it in, like when I missed out in the Olympics, I spent nearly 18 years of my life thinking that I never achieved in swimming.
I just
I know, so many people, when I talk to them about that, when I say that,
the
they're
Olympics
like,
was the goal, but a Commonwealth Games goal.
World Championship goal, racing against Phelps, racing against some of the greatest swimmers of our time. You know, I just didn't feel like I achieved.
Yeah.
And then it's the same thing when I'm selling a property. It's like I had the 10 properties in 10 years goal, and that's literally just ticked over now.
Does that guy that set that goal even exist anymore? Or are you a completely different version of yourself though? And it's just the legacy hang on, which I have all the time because you know I've sold 11 of my properties now. Yeah. Ego death. Like,
and that's that. Yeah. You nailed it on the head. That little 3-letter word, ego.
Yeah.
I work with that on a daily basis.
I own 5 properties. I did this.
Yeah.
I now own 2, but they're fucking really good, and you know, and I'm happy.
and you know, talking back about that noise on social, there's so many people that do, I do this, I do that, I do that. But what you see is one snippet might be 15 seconds of their life.
Yeah.
You don't see the sacrifice they put into that. You don't see the work that they put into that. You know, owning a social media account, the amount of work that you have to put in that I might get, I've got 6,500 followers, but I might only get 1 or 2 clients out of all the effort that I put into it.
Yeah.
So is that worth my time? I don't know, but you've got to have it as a part of a business. So, you know, leaving the billionaires and to lead into the business, that's what towards the end of my career with billionaires, and I had some amazing experiences. Like I went down to Antarctica for a month.
Yeah, wow.
Went into, you know, Shackleton and Scott's huts, the original huts they went to look for the South Pole in. And, you know,
and
even
to do it with that much like class.
Yeah.
There's handfuls of people in the world that ever get to do that.
Literally only handfuls. And, you know, I got to jump in Antarctica at minus 1.8 degrees, minus 2.
I love that you did that, bro. Ice bath time. How was that?
And you know what? It was one of the guests. It was one of the guest sons that actually encouraged me to do it. He goes, "Go get," because I had the full like survival suit on, being the water safety guy.
Yeah.
I had the full red penguin suit on, ready to jump in and save anyone. And he goes, "Go get changed." So I raced down. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this in my life. So do it.
That's so sick that you did it.
And yeah,
bucket list stuff.
Bucket list that you've just got to do.
Yeah.
You know, went up to Europe, and then we went all over the Monaco Grand Prix, Cannes Film Festival, picking up celebrities, dropping them off here, there, everywhere, like getting a 40-foot boat into the tightest of constraints.
Yeah, that must have been crazy. Panama Canal, Bora Bora, like dude.
Incredible life experiences that I'm very fortunate to have.
And you're a present enough person to be like, I'm working, but I'm also like really here in this moment too.
And that's what I learned about myself as well, having those moments. So towards the end of where I was with the last billionaire family, I was pretty unhappy. Yeah. You know, we've gone through COVID, and I was very fortunate to be in a full-time position, unlike so many people around me.
You're a little bit back then, from my memory, tiny bit on and off with the partner because you're away so much, and it's just so hard to like bed something down. Yeah,
and look, we had a short period where we broke up, and then we reconnected again, and you know, it's just gone from strength to strength. And you know, with any relationship, you strap yourself in, put the full harness on. We're going on a roller coaster ride.
Man, and to deal with me, like, thank you, Lise.
Same for me. Thank you, Jess. Because, you know, we're two driven humans in the relationship, and we've both got different values. We've both got different goals. There's things that align. That's why we're together. And sometimes the alignment is because one balances the other, the yin and the yang.
So what does, 41-year-old Jason want for the next 15 to 20 years now? Like, what does success and the future that the next seed that you're planning look like?
I think success for me in the next seed, apart from winning the RSL lottery, is...
I want that for you now too. I'm manifesting that for you.
Manifest it.
Yeah.
I think for me is continue on the journey and never close down any opportunities. I think that's one of the biggest things somebody can learn in life, is that, you know, now where I am, leaving that billionaire world where I was very unhappy, and especially in the last period, very loyal to the family, but just unhappy in an office job. That's what I ended up being.
Yeah.
And look, I did a massive renovation on that office as well. Like, you know, it was $1 million plus renovation on an old historic heritage building.
That's cool.
In Woolloomooloo. And then, you know, getting to the end of that, and then you're like, oh, is that it? And then I'm just stuck. So I started doing some coaching, swim coaching, which is my passion. I love teaching people things, whether it's teaching them how to scuba dive, teaching them four-wheel driving, because you do a lot with newbies four-wheel driving, taking them off-road, or teaching swimming.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I'm good at. Why don't I do this? And it was that revelation that this is what I'm good at. Why am I not doing it?
Love that.
And then that's how it sort of started. In a way, something happened with the billionaire family. Next sort of day, I was out the door. And then, you know, I'm like, oh, might start this business up. Literally,
now's a good enough time.
Literally started a company, started a website, and all of this I've learned myself.
Wow.
So this, you know, I'm not one of those people, and I think that's my learnings as 41-year-old Jason learns, is that you can't do everything by yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You need a team around you.
Not without drowning, right?
Not without, or just keeping your head and gasping.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this, just like you, we're ideas people. There's so many ideas. There's so many avenues I can go with this. And, you know, as I said off camera, happy to share it on, is that I would love to do what I'm doing now and do it for free.
Yeah.
If money was no object, if I won the $7.3 million apartment complex, you know, passive income, $200K a year,
yeah,
I would do what I'm doing right now for free.
I love that, man.
Because there's so much in giving back.
So then you know, because you know how much I love this too. Like, I'm getting much closer the same as you to like our ultimate financial goals that we set a long time ago. Like, I'm trying to sell something at the moment. So are you. Once they're off your plate, less stress.
Yeah.
But what would, you know, knowing that the reality of the world is like, if you were giving it away for free, people probably wouldn't appreciate it like they do as well. And they'd take it for granted. So what, you know, just like spitballing this out, like whiteboarding it, because like I think it's interesting for me to hear if I was listening to this, like you've got this business and all this opportunity coming to you because of who you are and what you've done. How do you continue to enjoy it, and what is the niche within that you actually want to explore? Like, what does that look like in 5 years' time?
So we've got to look at the purpose behind what, and we haven't talked about it, but Swimly is the name of my business, SWIMLY. And when I was coming up with a name for it, I was just looking and Googling things, and what I was looking for was like that right sort of name for something. And when you kind of put it together, and that's why the Instagram is Go Swimly.
Yeah.
Because swimly is quite a relaxed word. And that's what swimming is.
Yeah.
It's relaxing, it's enjoyable, and it should be quite chilled.
Yeah.
So I started the business to actually help adults overcome a fear of water.
Wow.
Because the amount of time that I worked on cruise ships, the amount of time that I worked on private yachts, the amount of time that I traveled overseas, and I realized that, especially working on boats, the amount of crew that could not swim.
Wow.
Here you are on a bloody floating piece of metal in the middle of the ocean. On the way to Antarctica, for instance, we had like 7-meter seas for 3 days straight.
Oh, that's full on.
So, you know, that's insane. Over 20-foot seas. And this ship like was literally smashing through waves.
Scary?
The impressive, because I love big surf.
Yeah.
You know, we're having some at the moment. I love it. But at first, it wasn't scary. But when it continued by the second day, the boat could handle it. You trusted that. But after the third day, if anyone says they don't get seasick, you've been on that for 3 days, getting smashed through stuff. You're like, I've had enough of this.
Big time.
It's like being on the roller coaster at SeaWorld, just going around the loop to loop, loop to loop, loop.
3 days.
Yeah, for 3 days straight.
Oh,
so from that, building that business up to help those people, because and then, you know, the statistics literally came out like that later that year when I started the business. 1 in 4 Australians are weak swimmers or non-swimmers.
Wow, non-swimmer in
1
Australia.
in 4, yeah. And everybody just assumes, oh, that's the new people coming to the country.
That's what I would have assumed.
No. It's a lot of the people that aren't as fortunate like you or I who've grown up in that water environment or have had a negative experience. So a thing called aquaphobia, where they're fearful of the water, is something that's actually quite real.
So when the cat gets out of that bag and people start hearing that that's what you specialize in, I'm assuming it's like there's good business there.
There's good business there, but you've got to find it. And the hard thing is finding a price point that allows people to want to do it.
Yeah.
And the clients that I've worked with in the aquaphobia, the fear space, there's been over 100 clients now that I've helped.
Wow.
Go from, some have been near drowning experiences, falling off. Some have been like floundering around in the water, like really scared. But then I've had a couple who have been resuscitated.
Wow.
Like brought back from, red
So
line.
their whole body's just like, do not put me in water because
Do not put me in the water.
It's just absolute threat.
Yeah. And then helping them through that. And a lot of that, because the business I wanted to do was life coaching as well.
Yeah.
So this is coordinating both water therapy with life coaching.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's the psychology on what's sort of happening and how it sort of grows.
That's beautiful, man. And you're taking them on a journey, not just a physical one, but a mental as well.
And giving them something that they then appreciate.
Okay.
Because they're like, wow, I'm able to now be in the water. I'm able to go on that holiday and go in the beach, go down to the beach and have that time. So helping adults, and we're not talking 20-year-olds. We're talking like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,
Wow.
even a 90-year-old I've helped.
That's bucket list stuff to like at some point in your life, you'd want to pick that up.
Yeah.
And then, the other 600 clients, like where does that other side of the business come from?
So the other side of the business now is I love stroke correction, so fixing the way people swim.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's about not trying to, a lot of people try too hard with swimming.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is for me helping them to make sure that, I kind of call swimming, it sounds bad, but I call swimming like an end of life exercise.
Yeah.
Because you can continue doing it all the way up until your last day.
Yeah, wow.
And if you're doing it properly, if you're allowing things to happen, and I've got like a physio sort of mind, I'm very analytical in the way I break things down. And I love working with those that have trauma. So I've got one guy at the moment who can't move his neck.
Wow.
It's really stiff. So how do you work around him? Because he wants to
How do
swim.
you breathe? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you breathe? You can't turn your head to the side. You can't lift it up forward either because he's got no range of motion.
Wow.
So we're working around ways to allow him to swim and, making it easy for him. We're going to trial a snorkel with him to see how he goes. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to how you breathe in the water, how your kind of fear is. But for him, I think we're going to have to go snorkel. And it makes me think outside. But there's one other avenue. I know you're itching to ask another question, but there's one other avenue that I got into, which was through that stroke correction. I worked with a young, she was at the time state on board national level. And we took 3 seconds off her 50-meter breaststroke.
What?
Just by doing a few sessions with me. And that then opened up the eyes to a lot of parents. So now
3 seconds off a
3 seconds off a
50
50 breaststroke.
Just from stroke correction.
Just from stroke correction. So by doing it the right way and emphasizing the way that she sort of swims.
And you were a freestyle swimmer as
I was a
well.
freestyler, but very analytical in the way that I look. And I think a lot of it is the way that I approach the thought process.
Wow.
Because I'm treating the mind versus the body. The body knows what to do. It's the mind that overthinks it.
Man, she could have swum forever and not taken a second off.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And eventually might have, taken a few bits off here. But then all the parents kind of cottoned on. And, from watching
Significant
that.
performance jump.
So now I'm getting a lot of competitive kids coming through.
Which is cool too.
Which is awesome. I love inspiring the grassroots, the next generation.
And that's got to be
Olympians.
mindset stuff. It's like, imagine you at 12, 15, 18.
You nailed it exactly on the head, my mentality for how I teach it.
That's service now.
Yeah.
And you're making money to feed your family as well.
Feed the family, supporting my goals.
And there's money in those parents too.
Yeah.
The right private schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me,
that's good business too.
it's a good business. And for me, it's not about the money. Like literally, if I could do it for free, the adult side of my business, I love working with adults. My goal as an swimming coach, swimming instructor, is not actually to teach you how to swim. My goal is to actually get you out of your head to understand exactly what's happening. And that's like everyday life that we do. I do it within my own self. Like, get out of your head. You've got 14,000 ideas. Just focus on the 3 things that you need to do to get done for today.
Love that.
Write down the rest.
Yeah. Brain dump, man. I've enjoyed this so much. I had a whole list of things that I wanted to talk about, and this has gone 10,000 times better than those questions. Like, I'm inspired every time I catch up with you, and I've said that to you multiple times before.
Yeah.
You know, what would you say as the last question to sort of round it out in terms of, you know, what would you say to your 20-year-old self now as a 41-year-old self? Like, what advice would you have for that young guy that just could only see up and just wanted to push you, you know, well past your braking limits in many different ways of your life?
It's funny because, you know, asking that question back to my 20-year-old self, it'd be the same thing that I sort of did, which is take opportunities, and those opportunities can allow you to open up, you know, doors to certain different worlds. And you know what, so to kind of like leave with my parents, one of the greatest things my mum said to me, and this was when I was, you know, late 30s, it was actually after that renovation that I did. She's like, I don't have to worry about you anymore because you'll always land on your feet.
Love that.
And, you know, that for me was something that's really resonated within myself, because things will happen if you let them happen. If you forcing and if you think negative, and I used to be, you know, and you and I have had this chat, and I hope I'm not sharing too much, but we used to have negative thoughts.
Big time.
Always negative thoughts. And I've shifted that. They're still there, but I don't let them control anymore. And I try and keep it like positive and look at the positives. And even if it's like, you know, going back to working with children, just looking at the small things, looking at a flower, looking at an animal, looking at an ant, whatever it is, to distract your mind to focus on the good things. And I think that's the best piece of advice I would still give to myself as a 20-year-old. Focus on what you can control and not what you can't, because there's so much you can't.
The change from literally the last time we caught up in person to now, like you're walking differently again, you're holding yourself differently, like it's inspiring to see the progress. It's just cool, man. Like, and we're constantly going to be our own work in progresses, right? 100%.
You never stop working on yourself. And I think the biggest thing for me right now is I am myself.
Yes.
In the other world, in the other environments. And, you know, swimming days, I used to kind of talk when I was on the media to what I thought I should be saying.
Yeah.
Cruise ship, similar sort of thing. My personality a little bit, but keeping within the realm.
What's acceptable? What do you think they want?
Yeah, what do you think they want from me? What do you think they expect? The billionaires, 1000%. I used to say to, you know, new people who would start, be 50% less of the person you are and you'll kind of fit within this world.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm 100% myself.
How much less energy is required to do that?
So much less energy. I even say to clients at the start, especially adults when I meet them, don't take offense to what I say it as I see it.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to be rude to somebody, like, you know, but like if someone jumps in and they're floundering around in the water and then they stand up, I say, look, you're swimming, but you're surviving with style. So you kind of put the spin on it. So it's not a negative thing, but it's a positive thing in a way that makes them understand that, you know, let's improve it. Yeah, man, I've never ever, and we've had a lot of interactions, ever heard anything that wasn't like kind from you too. Like, you are always cut from that place where it's like you're saying you want to do this for free. Yeah. And you would, and you have, and you do. Yeah. And it's crazy, man. It's just service. It's recognizing that, hey, like, I'm not these thoughts. And that's the biggest change in myself too. Like, they can be there sometimes, but it's not who I am. Yeah. And then there's practices and habits and rituals and just surrender that's enabled me to like grow again. But it's like, if you didn't go through that hard time, and I didn't either, you know, you don't want to recognize yourself on your deathbed and go, I get it now. Like, I want to be figuring that out. I'm turning 39 soon. You're 41. Like, we've got so much ahead of us that's amazing. I think that's the other thing you forget as well. Like, life can throw you curveballs. It always will. It always does. It always will. But the thing is, you know, you got to take each moment that you're in and set yourself up for things later on. Because if all you're doing is focusing towards retirement, you'll miss so much of the journey in between. And it's the way I teach now is I'm like, stop trying to get to the wall. Enjoy the journey on the way to the wall. And you will see people change straight away. And, you know, so many of the clients that I work with are like, this is actually not swimming. This is like life life advice, life coaching. I said, well, that's half the business that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest difference in the way that I love to kind of pass on the knowledge, because I've had so much, as you say, like I've crammed literally so much into my life of life experiences that people would probably only have once.
Now it's all connected and now it's all working for you too.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. I was listening to this thing a couple of mornings ago. It was Denzel Washington, and he's like, each one, teach one, and turn around and pull the next few up. And I feel like you doing that, they go pull more people's hands up. And I truly believe that when we're serving, like I'm cuckoo, like I'm crazy, but I believe that things are only getting better. I believe that things are conspiring for us. Like I believe when you're coming from a place of hard work, consistency, discipline, surrender, and just giving a real shit, like not saying you do, but doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I've done worse, let's just say that, you know what I mean? And I'm grateful to be in this stage of my life.
Yeah, and it's an amazing stage, like to have a family now, have my little daughter who is incredible. Like you can just see she's growing so much every single day.
Yeah.
And the connection that I have now with my partner Jess, like we seem to be going on like not so far distant now. We actually seem to be coming together.
Yeah.
And the goals are always going to change. Things are always going to change, and I think that's the biggest thing, is allowing fluidity through your life.
Yeah.
Because things will change. You can't just go, this is how it's going to be. That's it.
I wonder if I'm spending that much time in the water and just becoming one with it, if like, it's just such a good metaphor for opening things up. And if you ever do move the business to Queensland, man, like please help me correct my stroke.
Oh,
it'd
easy,
be good for surfing as well.
Let's go now. Find a pool. There's a pool just around the corner.
Nah, mate, I'm so grateful. Like as always, it's just so good to catch up with you.
Absolute pleasure. Like anytime, you're a part of my journey.
Yeah.
Because you open my eyes to a way of things and doing things differently from an investing side of things. But then, who would have thought we'd become good mates from it as well?
I love it, bro. I'm so grateful. I hope people are still vibing on this. Like I've just really enjoyed myself, bro. You made my day.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Every day. That's what I try to do.
If you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 6 months, then the team and I at Pumped on Property would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. To book the session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that free strategy session button. Now in the session, we'll talk about exactly where you are right now, we'd like to be longer term, and educate you deeply on the Australian property market. You can then take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each month. Either way, we look forward to continuing to help you build your property portfolio with confidence on your journey to financial freedom. I know we did a really dodgy video where you were really good on.
It wasn't dodgy. It wasn't dodgy. It was
My
just...
setup was.
Yeah, the setup was, we've upscaled a little bit, so it's good.
Yeah, we've gone to where we should be. I remember we had a big light straight behind our eyes and we were pretty much burning ourselves. And I had a little camera with some little mics that I pressed play on before. That was probably back in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.